Hello, good afternoon, or good morning, whatever it is, just afternoon. Welcome to the YBMB Show. My name's Angela, and as most of you know who tune into this, we cover body, mind, and business live on this show 3 times a week. And I tend to talk about aspects of body transformation on a Monday, talk about mindset and upgrading your mindset on a Wednesday, and Friday we talk about business. Oftentimes I get a guest involved as well, and we cover particular aspects. But this week I've been just really sharing some content that I normally share from the YBMB program. The program itself I pulled together in 2018, and it was as a result of having been in business for almost 40 years, and then having this physical transformation over a period of a couple of years at that point, through primarily weight training. And at the same time, I was doing a lot of personal development as well. And what I realized is when you bring all 3 together, a strong body, a strong mind, and proven business strategies, you can get some really great, phenomenal results in all areas. And so I pulled this program together called Your Body Means Business, and we've run it now for quite a few seasons and had some really fantastic results. So it's not just me that's achieved from this process. There's many people from all sorts of avenues, business owners, people who are working for another company. So for example, a top lawyer, a partner in a city London firm, through to any age. So 28-year-old who works for a large company in Switzerland, through to someone who's very senior in dentistry in Finland, who's just turned 50, through to a 67-year-old who got his first 6-pack and came out of retirement and started a new business, a brand new business in eco-friendly construction. So many people have had the benefits of this process, and it's a proven model now. We literally use a roadmap to take you from where you are to where you want to be, body, mind, and business. Anyway, today, Friday, talking about business, and so let's go. There's a proven business blueprint that we use. I call it GYMS4, and it stands for 8 things: growth, goals, innovation, marketing, sales, finance, operations, raving fans, and trust. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that we cover in the in one of the modules, level 3, in fact, of YBMB. We focus really in detail on all of these things, and people finish that particular level with a business plan which would pass muster at places like Goldman Sachs, because I've used it there myself, and they know precisely what it is they want to do. But it does take us 13 weeks to get through it. So in the next sort of 20 minutes or so, I'm going to try and condense some of that just to give you a flavour. And then if you're keen to know more, obviously, you can click on the link and find out more. So let's talk about first of all, growth and growth goals. So this is not, as people sometimes believe, just about the money that you want to turn over. And in particular, if someone is actually employed, it's still relevant. Sometimes people say, oh, I'm not sure because I work with someone else, they're not really my goals. But growth goals need to be specific to you, regardless if you're running a business or whether you are working for someone else's business. And they need to be quite specific in terms of timeframes, and they need to be specific in terms of numbers as well. So when I say to people what your growth goals are, they're not quite sure, I would say to a business owner things like, well, what is it you're trying to build? Is this an entity which is separate from you? Is it very hands-on and you're going to be heavily involved? Is it going to be an international, national, or local brand? Is it a product or a service? And who's your target market? Is it going to be individuals or is it going to be businesses? What's going to be your methodology for delivery? Is it going to be online or is it going to be face-to-face? Because that will dictate whether you're going to have to put in place a large tech capacity if you want to deliver a lot of volume online, or indeed whether you're going to have to start appointing a large team. If you're going to have to start appointing a large team, you need to be thinking about how to assemble a team, particularly in this current climate. Who knows how long this is going to go on for, where maybe they're disparate, you're not going to be able to see them and to influence them face to face. So how are you going to put together a cohesive group of people who perform and deliver, even though they may be spread around lots of different locations. Excuse me, it's a bit dusty in here. Hold on. I don't normally come in here, and it's really, really hot and a bit dusty. But anyway, never mind. So with growth goals, it's very important to be clear about what it is you're trying to build. A great book for this is something called The E-Myth Revisited. If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend it. And what it talks about is, even if you're a tiny little startup, if you're trying to build a large business, it's really good to think of that entity as separate from yourself. Because if you don't, and if you sort of, maybe you've given up a job, you've been made redundant, you know, or you just decided you're going to start another business. What often can happen is all you do is you swap your old boss for a new boss, and that new boss is you. And you can be a very unforgiving boss in that, you know, you will work all hours. Maybe you won't pay yourself until the very end, if at all. Maybe, you know, you will not even be clear about your job spec, so you'll be getting yourself to do all sorts of different jobs, and the whole thing can be very tiring and quite soul destroying if you find that you're just not getting where you want to get to. So being very clear at the outset as to what your area of expertise is, and if you're going to be the CEO, what you need in terms of support. You know, so for example, most companies, they'll have a CEO, but they will have a head of marketing or sales, they'll have a head of finance, they'll have a head of operations. So as a CEO, you might start doing all of it, but as soon as you take someone on, you'd want to be thinking, you know, which of those particular roles they are being lined up for, so that you know, as you go along, you can start to delegate. But anyway, growth goals, first of all, are very important. Once you've got that, the next thing is, you know, your innovation. Now, many people say that they're not innovative, it's a Me Too business, they're jumping into a sector which is already pretty saturated, and they worry about that. But every single day, people are starting up businesses which are in saturated sectors. And if you've watched this program on Fridays, you've seen that I've interviewed people, you know, for example, from the retail fashion industry, where they've still done really, really well, even though they've been quite late entrants into the industry. People in estate agency and training and all sorts of industries that are quite established. So when I say innovation, it doesn't have to be that you're creating something brand new like an Apple phone, for example. But what it does mean is that there needs to be a reason why the client is going to come to you and not your competitor. And that can boil down to many things, which I would include as innovation. So it could be that, you know, there's a particular collaboration that you have. So let's take the lady that I interviewed who's in fashion. She collaborated with particular fabric makers who they're all based in the UK, and it's very exclusive, organically sourced types of fabric. You know, the colours that she chooses are in line with the sorts of traditional colours that maybe, you know, royalty and royal uniforms and things like that are made of. She collaborates with the Queen's milliner, with a very exclusive shoemaker. And so all of the collaborations mean that the experience with her is very, very unique. And it could well be, maybe that is not a collaboration with you, but maybe you're much quicker in the way that you deliver. So it's a much more speedy method of delivery of the product or the service. It could be that maybe for whatever reason, you've managed to do it cheaper. Or maybe, you know, you put bolt-ons, additional services. So whatever it is, there's got to be a reason that you can explain why people should come to you and not anybody else. And it could boil down to so many things, but that's as part of innovation. It does need some thinking through. The next one we talk about is marketing. And when we come on to marketing, it's very important to know who you're actually talking to. And that's why when we cover growth goals in the first place, we do actually talk about your client base and who your ideal client is. Because very often when people want to start a business, they just want to get it as big as they possibly can. And what does that mean? They think is that they just need to sell to everybody. And quite clearly, you know, not everybody wants the same thing. Not everybody has the same views, beliefs, values. So it's very important to decide who your client avatar is. And what I mean by that is, you know, what sort, even if it's a business you're selling to, the person that's buying, are they male or female? How old are they? What's their interest? What's their values? What's their hobbies? What other things do they tend to buy as well? You know, what are their needs basically? So that you can, let's say, for example, you decide that your client is, you know, a teenager, a 16-year-old, then you're going to be talking to them in a very different way to if your client is, you know, an athlete who's in their 30s. compared to, let's say, it's a retired person, a retired woman in her 60s. So you've got to decide who your client is, and then you basically can work out if there are enough of those to achieve your growth goals. If there's not enough of them in the location that you want to sell, then maybe you would relax your criteria a little bit. If there's too many, you tighten up your criteria, but you need to have this client avatar. Once you know exactly the sort of avatar, the type of client you're talking to, and you know what you're actually saying, you know what's innovative about you, then you, and only then, are you ready to put together your marketing campaign. Very often I talk to people, they've started their business and they say, I just want to know, how to use Facebook properly. I must get some ads. I've got to upgrade my brand. I need to do some marketing campaigns. And yet they've not really thought about the things I've just said. They've not thought about who their client is. They've not thought about why them and not somebody else. And so, it's a mixed message, and they're not ready to do their marketing campaign. But as I say, once you know who you're talking to, once you know what you're saying, it becomes such a much more powerful and compelling proposition. And that's what you need when you start your marketing campaign. So once you have that, we call it the elevator pitch. It's a few lines as to, why you and what you're actually going to do, what you're going to solve for this target client. And then it boils down to all different ways, where is this client? Are they on Facebook? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they not the sort of people to be on social media? So would you have to find them elsewhere? Would you maybe send emails and maybe even hard copy? So there's a whole multitude of questions you then have to answer. And sometimes you just won't know. So you have to trial in marketing. So you get your branding correct in terms of your message. Maybe you have some visuals in terms of some photos. Very often, again, people spend far too much time on a website, and whether it should be, green, red, yellow, it's really not relevant. What you need to do is just to put your message very clearly on a landing page in your website. And then you have to have what we call a CTA, a call to action. What is it you want that client to do when they land on your page? And we'll come on to, obviously you want them to buy, don't you? But very often people are not ready to buy yet because they don't know you, that you've only just started their journey on the client value ladder. So they're not going to buy probably. So maybe you give them a slightly easier call to action on your website. Maybe you get them just to submit their email details on your website so that you can then, in return for a free download or something, and then you can communicate to them. So asking them for a specific call to action is important, but asking them to overcommit and do something too quickly if they don't know you is not going to get you the best result. So there's much to do in marketing. On the program, we talk all about this, obviously, until you get to a point where you have your message, you have your elevator pitch, and then we teach you how to build marketing funnels, what sort of systems to use, how to set up your campaigns on LinkedIn, Facebook, or whatever it needs to be. We sort of delve into on the program, wherever you want to delve into. On level 3, I do deep dives with everybody on the program once per month. So it's a one-to-one with me for 2 hours. And everybody says that that's really where they get a lot of light bulb moments. So we do coaching calls where I do one-to-many. I have, a few people on in the calls, and we sort of go around and everybody speaks, and we sort of, try our best to answer as many of the questions as we can to move people along in their business planning and their progress. But really it's the one-to-ones that really make a big difference. And so I love doing those, because when you have 2 hours with someone, you really can have good conversations, and things pop out, and it's really inspiring for me, and they really enjoy it as well. So that's what happens with marketing. And as I say, we delve into whatever areas you want to delve into. If it's marketing funnels, we do that. If it's one person, for example, she really wasn't confident talking to the camera like this, and so we did quite a lot of practice on her one-to-one and afterwards, where she was just sort of sending me quick snippets. Hi Angela, these are my 3 top tips for blah blah blah, whatever it was in her business, and she was just practicing her video skills and her communication skills, presentation skills. So that is the sort of thing that we do on the marketing side. Getting on to sales, want to just elaborate a little bit more on what I mentioned just now about the fact that you can't really expect someone who doesn't know you to necessarily buy straight away unless it's a very, very low ticket item. And even then, if there's many many competitors, they may not buy you not because they don't want to, but they just need time to think about it. They want to get to know you a bit more. They want to see you on social media a bit more. They just want to investigate the whole proposition. And so much better to take into account, to build a sales process, basically, or funnel, as I called it, because if you look at the research, or what you'll see is that it's necessary to have on average 16 points of contact with a potential buyer before they will actually buy from you. So it's very rare if they've not heard from you. And a point of contact can be a number of things. It might be a friend has referred you. It could be that they've seen you lots of times on social media. Might be they've seen you in the flesh, presenting. Might be you've written a book. It could be, you presented a video. It could be a whole variety of things like that. Might be you've emailed them a few times. They're in an email sequence. But what really has to happen is that they know who you are. And when you do this first call to action, it really needs to be that they're just making a little baby step, a little commitment. So maybe, like I said, you just invite them to for a free download, or you sell something small like an introduction, a taster session or something like that. And then obviously when they come on that, or you sell them this small thing, you over deliver. You over deliver so that they're really pleased with what you've delivered, and you start to build this relationship. They start to trust you, and then you can offer your next thing, and then your next thing. And that's how you retain clients. You take them up the value ladder. But you really, generally speaking, can't sell very high ticket, high value items to somebody right at the beginning if they've never heard of you. So I tell you that now because it avoids a lot of disappointment. And gets you to focus on the right things when you're very first starting off, or you're, changing your business. So that's sales. On the finance side, we teach about financial models because it's really important to think about how you're going to build up your turnover. Because the way you do it is, well, there's a number of ways to do it. Either you have many, many clients, a fixed, they're spending a fixed amount on a fixed product. And what happens then is that is a simple multiplication. So you need 1,000 clients to spend, 1,000 each, and there you go. You've got your million. But on the other hand, it could be that you want 1,000 clients, but you want them to buy twice, in which case you're going to double your turnover. Maybe you only need half the clients if they're going to buy twice, or if they're going to buy, or a quarter of the clients if they're going to buy 4 times. So thinking about the frequency of purchase for a client is really important. How often do you want them to buy something from you? And also, if you've got a number of different products and services, how many things can they buy from you? If they come in and buy one thing and you've got 5 others, then again, you can really build the value of that client. So ultimately, what you're looking to do is to build the number of clients, the value of each individual client, and then the frequency that they are going to buy from you. And that is really important to know when you're actually putting your financial model together. The price is one thing of the product or service, but then you've got to look at the cost of delivery as well. If it's products, obviously it will be the cost of buying whatever the raw materials are, but there's all the other costs in between, aren't there? That, there's all the distribution, there's the packaging, there's the marketing cost, there's the sales cost, there's the operations cost if you have to deliver a service. And very often, even on paper, it might look like it's still going to be profitable. But the truth of the matter is that if you've not got a significant margin to start off with, and I would suggest about 20% at least, then, very, very quickly, a profitable business, a profit-making business can turn into a loss-making business. And I've often seen it on a spreadsheet before where it looks like, there's going to be profit in this business, but then you can start to look at it and you can say, well, if that's not quite right, if there's a bit of difficulty with the operations, if maybe you don't quite hit your sales targets, if maybe the cost of delivery is a little bit higher, before you know it, if you've only got a small margin, 10% margin, then that can be eradicated, and then you're into loss-making territory. And if you're in loss-making territory, you very quickly will go out of business because, as we know, cash is king, and more so than ever, this last year has shown us that even the most thriving and strong businesses will go out of business if they run out of cash, and that's because all of a sudden they don't hit their sales targets, or the cost of delivery goes up, And then, even the best businesses, they're not going to be able to run for very long before they start to struggle. So you having your financial model is very important, even if it's a passion of yours, this business, and I suggest it would be. You've got to be clear on the finances. And if it's something that you don't like, then, hire someone whose area of expertise it is, so that you can make sure that that side is covered. Because the other part of running a business, obviously, is, you may need to deal with banks and with funders. You may, obviously, you're going to have to pay HMRC and VAT, and all of that stuff needs to be sorted. So there's a lot to it on the finance side. Now, operations, we always do a quite big session on YBMB about operations. And very often people say, oh God, processes, it's not my thing. I don't really know how to design them. And yet we always have some really, really fun and interesting sessions on processes, because what we tend to do is we say, well, look, you're here at A, you want to get to B. If you've got an existing business, how is that happening at the moment? So what things are you actually doing to get there? That's a process. And then we say, okay, so what could you do at each of those stages to speed it up, improve the quality, add value to the client, make it more enjoyable? And so when you start taking those things into account and you look at how you do things, and you also sort of look at, who else could help you and collaborate and all things like that, you can come up with some amazing improvements in your business. And that's really operations. And what we do on the program is, it's not just me talking to you about this. We have the whole group, analyzing your process for you. So the whole group sort of chips in with, well, have you tried this? What about that? How about if you did it on this, this on Zoom, and got this person involved? And, you see light bulbs go off, and the business owners go, oh God, that's really great. I'm going to implement that. And also people that work for other companies, normally speaking, if they come on this program, they've got a team of people, they're managers, and they're managing departments, sometimes really big departments. Or sometimes it might be not be their business, but they're still running practically the whole show. And so it's a very, very useful exercise for them as well. And they often say, when they do their testimonials, not just that they've lost weight and they're stronger and they're mentally stronger, and they're happier and all of that, but also that they have managed to replicate this amongst their team, and that people have noticed at work that not only are they more calm, cool, collected, but also their team feel like that as well, and even their team start to behave differently. So it has a big ripple effect, this program, not just on what you're doing, but on the people around you, which obviously makes your life easier as well. We talk about raving fans, is another word really for your professional and personal relationships. And on the program, we talk a lot about the fact that your network in all its forms is probably one of your biggest assets. And we go through a process of working out for everybody what their network consists of. It's always bigger and more extensive than they originally thought. And we talk to them about ways in which they can actually use this network, not just taking from it, please can you do this, that, or the other for me, but also what they can add back in terms of contribution, and also how they can mobilize this network to really make things happen. And again, we've had some first we've had some great speakers in that section, people that have done some amazing things in terms of impact and they're philanthropists themselves. But also there's been light bulbs for people when they've started to think about, the sorts of people in their network and how they could help them, and vice versa, and what sorts of things they could make happen. But then we come to the final one, which I call trust. And it's, this is encapsulates a lot of things. And it really boils down to, trusting in the fact that what you're about to embark on with your business is actually going to leave a legacy. It's going to make a bigger difference than just paying you a wage. Because if it's just about paying you a wage, you're always going to be looking at other alternatives. You could probably sleep easier sometimes if you go and get an easier job, because running a business is a challenge, obviously. But the thing with running a business, or anything that, your own department, or making your mark in the world and doing something that's difficult, is that you can leave a legacy. And what does that mean? That means that you will have, you will be more purpose driven. So when every day can be a drudge if you're not purpose driven. If there is not something that someone funnily wrote the other day, which says, that makes you forget to, what did he say? He said, it finds something that makes you forget to eat and poop, and I thought that's really quite funny, and it's quite true as well, that that you're really caught up with in something, and you care about it when you think, oh my goodness, I must go to the loo, or I haven't eaten anything all day. So you want to have a mission-driven purpose. We call it all sorts of things. We call it, a transformative purpose, a moonshot, basically something that makes you jump out of bed, and despite the challenges and despite the things that, you don't want to do that day, you still plow on because you know that it's going to make a difference. And so, for example, for me now, the YBMB program, for a long time, I've worked as a social entrepreneur in a lot of different sectors, and we've done work with newly unemployed professionals before. We did that for many years during the last, recession. Prior to that, we worked with professionals in recruitment. For the last sort of 7 or 8 years, we've done a huge amount of work with young people and helping them to start their first job. And this last couple of years, and particularly this last year, my focus has all been on midlife professionals, because I really think in this country that it is a massive untapped talent. People are living longer. They're shifting their longevity mindset. They're starting to realize now that the whole concept of retirement at 60 is crazy. I'm 58 years old, and I've literally only just started. There is no way in a million years that I would even be thinking about retiring, because for me, I want to be living well beyond 100. And some of the things that we do in the program is to investigate what's going on in the longevity space. And all the top scientists now that we were listening to a couple of weeks ago, things are happening which mean that you hold on for another 10 years. And you will probably, every year that we live is going to buy us probably another 10 years of healthy life if we do the right things. And so if you change your longevity mindset and you start to think, I'm midlife, traditionally people would have thought now that, my late 40s, 50s, that I'm sort of coming to the end. Well, my view now, and that of most of these scientists, is that we're actually only beginning. And we've learned all this stuff, and now we can really make our mark in the world. And so therefore, we want to be starting these businesses, and we want to have a passion, and we want to make a difference. Mine with YBMB is to present this roadmap to individuals who are midlife, who've got a lot to give, who maybe have been under the misapprehension that, their body is never going to get to how they want it, that they are never going to be able to achieve the things they want, and they wish they'd done other things, and that the best years are behind them. And my mission is to demonstrate to them, you can have whatever body you want, you can upgrade your mindset, and you can start new businesses, many, many businesses. And probably what's going to happen is that you've got at least your working life twice over again. So imagine that. Imagine if you had again from the time you left school, college, or university until now, and imagine with all the experience that you've got, that you're going to do that twice more, and you're going to do it in areas that you really love, that you really enjoy, and that you're going to make a difference in. So that's my mission. And I'd love to help you discover yours. And you can do it through having a business or working in a business, because don't forget, every business owner, generally speaking, has a right-hand person who is just as important as that entrepreneur who started it. So they still need all of these entrepreneurial skills, and it's still very relevant. We have lots of people in the program who don't own their own business, but they really are making a difference in someone else's. So I'd love to help you not only sort your business, but also your body, your mindset, and get you ready for your massively transformative purpose, your purpose-driven mission. I'd love to do that with you and for you. So that's enough for me, I think. It's 12:29. So that's my little quick synopsis of some of the things we cover on business in YBMB. Wishing you a fab weekend. If you would like to come to a more extensive overview, then I'm running something tomorrow at midday. And if you would like to attend that, you're very, very welcome to. Just either direct message me, or you'll see a link in the notes here, and love to see you. But when you're ready, we're here, ready and waiting to help you, take you to that